Good morning. Today is Saturday, January the 15th, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Purpose-Driven CEO. Today on the Purpose-Driven CEO, we are going to talk about a topic called attention management. Now, in our world today, there are a lot of distractions, right? You've got, you name it. There's all types of social media, texts hitting us left and right, news alerts popping up. We've got email alerts on our phone and on our computer. I mean, it is very, very difficult to focus. And what I'm going to talk about today is a teaching around how to focus more and be more productive. Now, why is this important? Because as we are trying to achieve balance in our lives and work fewer hours, the key is to work more productively. So I will argue that because we are so distracted, it is taking the average person twice as long to do their job as it should. And so if we can figure out a way to be more focused, we can be more productive, have to spend less time at work, more time with our families, more time doing the things that we enjoy, and our quality of life will go way up. So first of all, I want to talk with you a little bit about the 4 attention zones, okay? The first one is the proactive zone. This is where we want to stay. It deals with planning and preparation, strategic activities, building reserves, maintenance, and renewal. So this is the sweet spot. This is when you can actually spend time analyzing your company, analyzing your life, developing plans for the future, executing on future-oriented projects, things that will actually move you, your family, or your company forward, not reacting, but moving things ahead. The reason that I believe so many companies fail is because nobody is doing this. We just yesterday, on Friday, January the 14th, our company, Regent Bank, eclipsed the $1 billion mark for the first time ever. And we started back in 2008 with about $72 million in assets. And yesterday we went over $1 billion. We have had 22% growth for 13 straight years in an industry that grows about 3%. And the question is, why? Well, there are a lot of reasons. First and foremost is blessing. We have given the company over to God. But I believe that one of the other reasons is that because I have such a great team, I am afforded the opportunity to spend a lot of time in the proactive zone where I am thinking, studying, reading, looking at what other cutting-edge competitors are doing, and it allows us to be more innovative and have more improvement. The second zone is the distraction zone. Now, this is where we live most of the time. This is where this is unnecessary interruptions. This can be distracting calls and emails. These are things, now we're not talking about the next zone we're going to talk about is the waste zone. So that's not what this is. These are simply interruptions. We're not doing things wrong. We are just not allowed to continue a flow of work. And as I'm sure you know, guys in particular really, really struggle with getting back on task after they are interrupted. Women in general are much better at multitasking, but they still see a significant, about a 30% drop in productivity from constant interruptions. And so there are many things you can do here. We'll talk about them more later, but you can educate your environment. Make sure that, the idea of an open door policy, in my opinion, is not a good idea. You should have certain times of the day when people can come see you, but you need uninterrupted time, no email notifications, phone is on do not disturb, you move your cell phone away from you, your smartphone away from you, and you are fully focused on the task at hand. You can get things done so much faster if you stay out of the distraction zone. Now, let's talk about the waste zone. The waste zone is where we want to stay away from, but it is where we live a lot. Okay, these are inefficiencies. These are trivial activities. This is excessive entertainment. This is scrolling social media all day long at work. This is constantly checking, personal texts. This is TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. This is all that during the work time. This is wasted productivity. I will tell you, in my opinion, I believe truly that this is stealing from the company. You're being paid to be productive and move your company forward. And when you are doing personal activities, this can be personal phone calls. Now, I know sometimes it's essential because you got kids and that type of thing, but this is basically doing non-productive personal, entertainment on company time. So we want to avoid the waste zone. Now, I think that everybody should have a 15-minute break in the morning and a 15-minute break in the afternoon. And during that time, that's great. Do all that type of stuff, just not while you're supposed to be working on behalf of your employer. Now, where we live probably the most is in the fourth zone, and that is the reactive zone. The reactive zone is the one where we are constantly dealing with urgent demands on our time. We're dealing with crisis. We're dealing with stressful situations. These things are important. You have a client. This happened to me yesterday morning. As soon as I got into the office, we had a client that had an issue. They had a question about their statement. They didn't understand it. They were very concerned. And so I stopped everything to deal with that client. We wouldn't have jobs if we didn't have clients. And so fully, the reactive zone, spending time there is perfectly fine. It's fully understandable. But what we do want to do is try to plan ahead so that hopefully this reactive zone can become more and more minimal. Now, I've mentioned this earlier, but I want to talk just a little bit about multitasking. Multitasking is a myth. 110%. We cannot multitask. A very large body of research has proven that unlike computers, human brains simply cannot multitask. It's an illusion. Splitting attention merely feels like you're getting more done, but you're not. The result of task switching is simply this. It takes twice as long to complete the work, and you produce twice as many errors. So focusing on one thing at a time is critical. Let me take this even a step further. Multitasking actually has a worse effect on your mental performance than marijuana. A recent study funded by Hewlett Packard and conducted by the Institute of Psychiatry found that when multitasking, people show a temporary 10-point drop in their IQ, more than twice that found in studies of the impact of marijuana on people's mental performance. And what happens is when you multitask, it actually feels like you didn't get enough sleep. So you have the same mental performance as somebody who got no sleep prior to the test. So focusing on one thing at a time is absolutely critical. Multitasking while driving is more dangerous than drunk driving. A driver who's texting or reading emails 23 more times more likely to have a collision, and multitasking behind the wheel is more dangerous than actually drunk driving. So the key is focus and concentration. And I want to encourage you each morning to do a focus and concentration exercise when you begin your day. And let me give you one that I experienced at a leadership institute called Stegan Academy. You basically take a raisin and you put that raisin in your mouth. And most of us take the little red box of raisins and we just pop them in our mouth. We eat them all at one time. We're done in about 20 seconds and we head on down the road. But if you'll just take one raisin, put it in your mouth and just take 30 seconds to feel the contours of the raisin. Take a moment and bite into the raisin. You'll feel this burst of flavor whenever you do that, and it will help you learn the difference between focusing and rushing through life. I will say this, and we'll talk about this in a future podcast, but focusing can be a tremendous key to enjoyment of life. Focusing in the moment. I want to talk a little bit now about a weekly focusing process. So what you want to do is either at the end of the day on Friday, or maybe it's Sunday evening before you go back to work. I would definitely do it before Monday morning. You need to take some time and think through your week. What are the things that you want to accomplish during this week? And write those down and place them on your calendar. Whatever the most important things that you have to do, get them on your calendar somewhere, but always have a weekly planning time. Schedule and keep appointments with yourself. Take some time. We should all be spending 15 to 30 minutes a day in reading and learning and growing. Send that appointment to yourself and keep that appointment to grow. What are the most important things you need to do each day? Calling on your VIP clients. Set that appointment with your time. For our loan officers, working past dues, working exceptions, set that time aside. If it is writing a handwritten thank you note, I've been doing that every day this year. Set that time aside. Schedule and keep appointments with yourself. Working out. If that's important to you, set that time on your calendar and keep the appointment with yourself just like you would some other very important client. Using weekly time blocks, setting aside time, as we just discussed, for important things will be a game changer. What I do not take appointments before 10 o'clock in the morning because I am most productive in the morning. So no meetings before 10. I focus on my most important priorities and tasks before 10. And then from 10 on, Shelley knows she can completely pack the calendar from that point on. And then I have an hour at the end of the day to read, get caught up, and plan for the next day. That is the example of a weekly time block. Turn off email communication. Make sure that you are not getting pinged every time you get a new email, because in my instance, I get one about every 30 seconds and you will never be able to concentrate. So you need to return emails at certain times of the day. I suggest beginning of the day, mid-morning, over lunch, maybe right before or after lunch, mid-afternoon, and at the end of the day. It's not going to, you need to have kind of an SOS plan for people that really need to reach you. Maybe there's somebody else in the office they can call if it's urgent and they can come in and interrupt you, but you cannot sit there with constant distraction all day long. You're not going to get anything done. Use email folders and filters. So basically, you'll want to set up rules so that we all get emails throughout the day that we want to read. We just don't want to read them now. You want to read them on your time. So like I have certain newsletters and other emails from industry groups and that type of thing. Those go into a read later folder. And then at the end of the day, from 4 to 5, I go in and read those, not during the day when I'm trying to focus on my tasks. Lose the electronic leash. You've got to get away from your smartphone. When you are working, you need to put the phone away from you. When you get home at night, you need to plug the phone in and put it away and focus on your family. You cannot be constantly leashed to your smartphone. Budgeting your time. Make sure that, like I mentioned earlier, make sure that you are focusing on the most important things when you are the best. Now, for me, that is in the morning. For some people, that's later in the day. But don't do meetings during the time when you're the best. Make sure you focus on important activities. Educate your environment. Let everybody know, hey, no more open door policy. Come in and see me at certain times of the day, and that's when I'll be available. But otherwise, I've got to focus on my work, just like you need to focus on yours. And then finally, use real-time communication effectively. If it takes more than 2 emails to solve a problem, you need to visit in person. I have a problem with this. I tend to like to email and text because I feel like it's faster than picking up the phone, but many times it is not. If you get into a volley back